The idea for They Came Together many years ago, actually. David and I had finished Wet Hot American Summer. The movie had come out, people had seen it, some people had liked it.
We talked about, just sort of hatched what seemed like a natural next thing after Wet Hot American Summer, which was a movie, something in the vein of Wet Hot American Summer, but also in the vein of a straight up spoof.
Boy, that guy have a pole up his ass or what?
Watch out, Joel, he does!
Making fun of our favorite genre, which was the rom-com.
It was a movie that was going to reference specific scenes from romantic comedies that audience members would have seen already.
Over time, though, when that version didn't get made, we started evolving the idea more towards something more particular to our own real sensibility and our own voice.
Ah! My bobbing apples!
Right, party tomatoes.
As with most of the work we've done in the past, it's a mix of referencing, spoofing things, just straight up sight gags, straight up just goofy ways of saying words, whatever makes us laugh.
This is like, people could walk into this movie and go, oh, this is gonna be a fun romantic comedy, I get this.
And I do think there are two kinds of parodies. There's the kind of the Zucker brothers. You talked about Monty Python or Mel Brooks's movies, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and his other movies that are more, it's genre parody, but it's genre parody. It's the totality of the genre. It's not taking specific scenes, and it's sort of that's more of a sketch comedy approach to genre parody.
Yeah, it's like Zucker brothers, Mel Brooks, but then there is this kind of like, you know, Robert Altman-y kind of thing going on where it's just like, fuck it, you know?
You know, the tone is really, it's hard to describe tone. You just feel it, and you kind of leave it to other people to describe, but I think that their stuff is just old-fashioned jokes and bits, and nothing is really sacred.
Particularly in this movie, which has a kind of anarchic spirit, but then it also had its own rules, and there were many kinds of jokes we came up with which we felt were not in the scope of what this movie was, and so we didn't include them in the final edit.
He loves little weird things, like there's a scene where Ed Helms comes out of the bathroom and he's pulling up his pants and like doing his belt, like it's like he pissed and then turned around and walked right out the door and is doing everything as he's coming out the door. Like that's the shit that David loves.
Oh no, Wanda, I look terrible. I look like a chimney sweep.
I'm fortunate in the fact that we've done a lot of stuff in the past now that people know, so it's not as much of asking people to take a flyer as we did, for example, when we did Wet Hot American Summer, where people read the script and a lot of them were like, I don't even get this, but there's something funny about it, so I hope you guys can pull it off.
You know, Wet Hot American Summer did not break any kind of movie-going records, did not make a ton of money, and they were not able to kind of just go ahead and make the next movie they wanted to make, even though this was it. We wanted to try and get this thing going. But it never happened, and it was kind of forgotten about, and everyone moved on, you know, to whatever it was that they were doing.
Joel pulls him back in just in time, just as Trevor, Joel and Bob's slimy rival enters.
Hey guys.
And then we had a stage reading at San Francisco Sketch Fest with a bunch of actors just for kicks on a Sunday morning.
At the Sketch Fest, they wanted to do a live reading of Wet Hot American Summer, and so a lot of us from the cast came back and we did this live reading.
I remember being excited about seeing everybody again. We all had gotten older and wiser, maybe, and had seen each other in different incarnations, but not together in that same way. It was really bittersweet and nostalgic.
Because it was a festival, they had other slots that they needed to fill, and I think that they'd asked David, do you have anything else that you'd like to do? Because, you know, it's Sunday at 11, we'd love for you to do something, and it was around that time they thought, oh, why don't we just do a live reading of They Came Together.
Come on, Molly, pick up.
Bring. I want to, but I'm not going to.
Come on, Molly, pick up.
I remember it going extremely well. I mean, it was just a very funny reading.
I thought it was so funny I didn't believe myself. I went, oh no, you just kind of caught up in the sketch fest and the love fest that was coming from the audience and all that stuff.
There were many times that all of us couldn't quite get through the reading. One, because we just thought it was really funny, but we were all also so hungover that we couldn't, everything was just kind of, you know, you're in that mood where everything just seems funny.
In Russia, there's only one kind of... In Russia, there's only one kind of peanut butter. In America, there are so many types of peanut butter. What a country!
And Paul and I, after, just looking at each other and thinking, this is really funny. Like, why isn't anybody making this? And talking to David about it, and David kind of saying that there was, you know, some thoughts about making it, but things were still being figured out.
Let's just film this. We can, if we pull this thing together quickly, maybe we'll be able to do it.
I mean, the answer is Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler help you get a movie made.
And so the three of us just kind of stood together and said, should we try to make this? And then that summer we did.
That was in January, and we were shooting that movie a few months later.
There was one guy, I think, at Lionsgate, a guy named Matt Kaplan, who really spearheaded the thing. He was in charge of a division for, you know, micro-budget films, and they're called micro-budget films. Films that don't cost anything. And I guess that Amy's star power, my star power, David's star power, and the star power of all the people that we're gonna bring in equaled enough that we could get a micro-budget pulled together.
There was another character that was just as important as the two of us, New York City.
So New York City is like another character.
You know, it's been a running joke from our script all the way into the making of the movie, into the publicity, that New York is another character in the movie, which is such, for me, a pet peeve of mine when people say that in interviews, because it's not true. New York is the setting of the movie, perhaps. Perhaps it has an influence on the storyline, but it's not another character. And it's also just a weird, cliche, overstated thing to say. So I have taken to saying it in every single interview, multiple times.
Well, it was important for us to shoot in the movie because New York is a character in the movie. And so how could we not shoot there?
I've done interviews for other films where I have said, the great thing about this movie is that like New York is almost like a character in a film, and New York had nothing to do with the film. I've said that in other interviews on things I did, but just because it's a cliche thing to say at this point. And now we're doing a movie that actually, we've really embraced it.
Shooting the movie to ape the look and feel of a big budget New York in the autumn movie when we were actually shooting in the dead of summer in Brooklyn, mostly in a 4-block radius in Cobble Hill, was a fun challenge for Mark White, our production designer, and our whole art department.
Well, New York City is a really great place to shoot when you don't have a lot of money, because the depth of the background, the life that's around you, the architecture, you know, everything is free if you can get permits to shoot it. So you can make a film look really big and large in scale even though you don't have any money.
David will easily pull up a film to look at. He had a favorite reel of rom-coms. I don't remember all of them, but you know, there were from Woody Allen to You've Got Mail to different favorite films that tell the rom-com story.
And we did a lot of it actually in post. We changed the colors of leaves from green to brown. A lot of it, though, you can see very clearly. There's Paul and Amy walking down in the park with their heavy, heavy coats and their hats, and in the background are guys playing soccer in shorts and no shirts. But luckily, in a movie like this, you can kind of say, it's a joke. You know?
You just have to roll with the punches of you're working in tighter quarters, but the vista that you get is impressive. It's magical.
But because of the nature of the city, it's so crowded and congested and everybody's a dick, that it makes it unnecessarily complicated to shoot in New York City. I mean, the streets are crowded and the weather's terrible a lot of the time, and yet I live here, like an idiot. Like a goddamn idiot, I choose to make my life here.
Oh, here's something a lot of people don't know is Martin Scorsese directed one scene in the film. And you have to guess what it is.
I will say this though, which is kind of interesting. It's not the Martin Scorsese that did Raging Bull in those movies.
Martin Scorsese also commands a certain fee that a film like this could not pay. So if Martin Scorsese did direct a scene in this film, we would not be allowed to talk about it.
It was a guy that I think is maybe, it's like his cousin or something, and his last name is Scorsese, but it isn't Marty. It was actually his cousin Artie Scorsese.
Had Martin Scorsese directed the sex scene, I think you would have seen a lot more of my butt crevasse, and I think there would have been a lot more overhead, directly overhead shots of my butt crevasse, easing its way into Cobie Smulders' poon.
Tiffany Amber Thigpen, will you marry me?
Joel!
Tiffany?
Hey, Joel. The comedy community, at least the part of the comedy community that I'm a member of, is fairly small, and there's definitely a kind of comedic shorthand among all those people. And then certainly within the smaller group of like the people who did Wet Hot American Summer and The State, there's even more of a shorthand.
It's always been my comfort level to be working in a group, because I started my career at age 18 in college working with The State, which was a huge sketch comedy group. And those very exact same people have been at the core of most of the projects I've done all the way since then.
Maybe having done like the Stella videos, and I know David with Wainy Days and Children's Hospital, all these different things, you do try to create a loose atmosphere on set where everyone feels comfortable kind of doing their best work.
You know, it's like going home. And it's, you know, for those of you with a shitty childhood, I have nothing to say to you. But those who understand, you know, there's a sense of comfort. There's a sense of familiarity. There's a sense of the shorthand to it all. You know the characters. It's just kind of effortless and very safe. All right. Which one of you people went into the bathroom, put my costume on, and shit in it?
One of the most important elements of making comedy is that you don't have restrictions, or you can get over your inhibitions, which come from feeling like you're among people who don't care or don't get you or are judging you in some way.
The bacon boot. What do you think? It's gonna be big, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to, I don't know, keep supplying the pond with fresh fish.
I can remember Amy kind of taking me, like, kind of putting her around me and being like, come into the circle.
There is a tone, there is a kind of a way to do the humor.
I'm a Thanksgiving turkey.
That it feels like they understand the joke. They really understand what the joke is to us and are really able to perform it. And I think it's a shared sensibility that we all have.
Finally got that job, huh?
You're not the only one in this family who's getting his shit together.
Max would be an example. I'd never worked with Max. And the guy's awesome, and we would do these scenes, and just the way he would read the line, or however his interpretation was, which is just like, yep, that is so exactly it. Nuanced and weird, and like one of my favorite lines in the movie.
Why don't you just calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down. What if I don't want to calm down? Stop trying to fix me.
Okay, I'm going to step out of the crossfire.
Max just throws up the
Yeah, me too.
and then turns to one. Well, God, it's not a joke, but it's a very fully realized read on the line. It's like, yep, that's it.
It was very easy to read that script in the voice of those guys that I knew.
Movie.
Pause. Laws.
Jizz! Juice! Time's up.
Jaws.
You know, so it was really funny. So reading that script was just like jokes. It was pretty awesome, actually.
And action.
Blue 23! Go deep!
Yeah, well, Jason Mantzoukas, who is one of the funniest people I've ever met. Truthfully, I had seen very little of his acting before we cast him in the movie, but I had worked with him as a writer in a room with him on Children's Hospital a lot, and just his way of being sitting in a room talking to you in person always made me laugh so hard that it never occurred to me that he wouldn't be hysterical in the movie, which he was.
Check, please.
Joel, everything's paid for. There's no checks. Brenda and I got it. There's a lot of like quiet moments. There's also a lot of like reactions that are happening. Like there's the scene that is great, it's really funny to me, which is Amy and Paul, they're in this fight and Melanie Linsky, who plays my wife, and I are having like a silent conversation that is just looks. But all the looks are silent and then it's all subtitled. And then at a certain point it culminates with me sneezing and all of the letters that are my subtitles fall onto the table. You know, like clattering onto the table. Which was bizarrely an incredibly difficult thing to make happen. But wildly funny and all silent.
Everybody kind of filled in knowing that was the tone and the vibe.
Well, if being a grown-up means being a corporate drone like you, then no thanks.
There's specifically one moment during the fight scene where Paul raises his voice to me.
But you know what? If you have a little rent, then sure, I'd gladly take it. I was being rhetorical. Of course you were. Of course you were!
And I don't know that there was once that I kept a straight face on it. I just don't know what he just took the scene. I mean, it was all Paul. He took the scene and elevated it at just the right point. But Paul drove that scene so hard, and I remember being like, oh my God, just hold on as tightly as you can. And I don't know that I'll ever be more proud of a scene in my entire career. I hope they play that at my like in memoriam. Do you remember the tire swing?
I don't have time for this. I don't have time. I know you remember it, Joel!
There's nothing that causes that blow up between those two guys. I think David just like, I just want to see these two guys yell at each other, you know?
That mixture is always, I think, the fun way to go. And so on this we have Cobie Smulders, who we'd never met before, who've just slotted right in so beautifully and played along. Same with Max Greenfield and others, along with the people like Michaeline Black, who's been in everything that I've done since I'm a kid.
Hey, Joel. Sorry about the Dick Ricker account. Looks like you won't be getting that promotion after all.
It's the mix that I love.
And you like each other. And it's better to go to work with people you like than to go to work with people you don't like.
Don't be seduced by his word jazz.
Here's a good thing to do. Put funny people in comedies. It tends to work. So David and Michael tend to do that. They put funny people in comedies. And then they're really funny, and the comedy is really funny, and the movie, it works.
It's over, Trevor. Now get out of here before I change my mind.
No, I want you to change your mind, then I'll still have a job.
I think editing on anything, comedy or otherwise, for me is knowing that what you had in mind becomes less relevant, and what you have in front of you becomes more relevant. And so you really just look at what you have, and the way that it was intended when shot, it just may not work.
David had cut together, we cut together a version of the movie, and I think they tested it, and it didn't test very well. And I think that tonally, people might have been a little confused.
Oh, God damn it!
David said, you know, it's kind of like we shot Princess Bride, but we don't have the Peter Falk, Fred Savage stuff, and we're realizing that's the way this should be told. That you're hearing this story, a couple telling how they met, you know? That was never a part of the movie.
And there was a lot of shuffling of dates because essentially there was only one day to shoot all of our scenes. And the scenes luckily all take place in a restaurant, in one place, in a booth.
You weren't kidding. Your story really is like a corny movie.
I know, the only difference is it's not a movie, it's our real life.
Amy and Paul and Ellie Kemper and I went to David Wayne's house, and he just showed us they came together, and then when we would cut to our scenes, it was like these kind of crude picture of all of us sitting at a table that was like photoshopped, you know, like a picture of me from a premiere, like on a, like a, you know, my head on some stick figure, and everyone's sitting at these like tables.
And I've worked on big Hollywood films that have, you know, 40 pages redone, and in this case it was just like a small device to help us get into the film, to understand what the tone of it was.
It kind of gave us license to do all kinds of jokes that we weren't being able to do in the earlier cuts of the movie.
It was exciting because I feel like as soon as we came up with that framing device, we knew we had figured out the final step in making the movie work and connecting it to a larger audience. There's some many people who made this movie together here tonight, so I just wanted to acknowledge and introduce you to some of them. First and foremost, the producer and the co-writer, Michael Showalter. Where is he? There he is.
The house is packed, huge theater, with Wet Hot American, David Wayne, Michael Showalter, nut fans. So you're like, great audience. Well, you know, they're not always the best audience to tell you how the movie is. So lights go down. Man, from the get-go, I just watched the movie thinking, oh my God, I can't believe what they've done with this.
Whose idea was Sex with Bubby? That was Maloney, I think.
Yeah.
Seeing that, you know, the final product with the framing device in there, the sound mix and everything, which we hadn't screened for any audiences, and seeing how boisterously, insanely well it went over at Sundance was immensely relieving and satisfying and exciting for us.
The question is about improvisation.
There's a lot of, no. I was about to say there was a lot of improvisation, and then they said no, there was no improvisation. Jason Mantzoukas improvised almost all of his dialogue.
I was just saying that we shot this, 20 days or something, and 23 in like 100-degree weather in New York. And so I think we got one take. David warned us. He said, we're really only gonna do one take, and Paul and I were like, okay, sure, yeah. And then we really only got like 1 or 2 takes, so we just kept moving really fast. And so we didn't really improvise very much, except for, I guess, Jason had all the fucking time in the world.
Everyone was laughing the whole film. Hard laughs.
And it's always gratifying to see something that you've believed in and wanted to do for a long time, yet done, and to feel like it's a finished product now. There's a sense of accomplishment there.
Yeah, it was like seeing it for the first time. I mean, it was really cool to go see the movie with an audience, because we were editing pretty much right up to the last minute. And so yeah, it really was like a real, true premiere.
If we have time, could we just, each person very quickly, everyone in the audience, just say their favorite scene, each person?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just start with her right here. So, what was your favorite part?
Green beans.
Okay, cool.
It's such an overwhelming film because there's so many jokes that you're getting these huge laughs that don't end right away.
You couldn't really hear half of it because it was just laughter wall to wall. And obviously for us, having gone down a 10-year-long journey making the movie, it's what you want.
Hey, tell me about it.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
You can say that again.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Hey, tell me about it.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Hey, tell me about it.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Hey, tell me about it.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Well, you came in here looking like crap, and you haven't said very much.
Hey, tell me about it.
Well, you came in here looking like crap.
Okay, we get the point. So what happened next?